So what happened as a result of that call? Well, let me just tell you, 6 years later, 1636, people realized that their sons were coming of age to go to college, and they didn't want to send them back to London where they would learn bad habits. So they would have to make a college here. And they did. They started a college, and people contributed their books, and the college got off the ground quite successfully, thank you very much, in 1636. But in 1641, those words about superfluity and necessity were kept in the hearts of the trustees, and they realized that they only had the sons of wealthy dukes and duchesses and the most successful members of the community. But they also recognized that some of the sons of candle makers and wagon makers were very gifted young men. And they realized that they were wasting some of the gifts that God had given the whole community by only giving those young sons the chance to be cabinet makers and candlestick makers. Well, you know what they did. The trustees, with their superfluities, people like Pete Coors, went to a wealthy woman who had no children, and they said to her, "We would like to make it possible for the sons of the artisan class to attend Harvard. Would you be willing to leave a bequest that would make that possible and make that kind of a gift?" And Lady Molson, Anne Radcliffe, said yes. That was 1641. By 1651, 20% of Harvard's students came from the artisan class. What am I telling you? I'm telling you from day one, Americans connected prosperity with generosity. And they realized that they needed to cooperate with Almighty God and continue to optimize the gifts that He gave so that the country could grow stronger. And grow stronger it did. But it grew stronger in important ways, not just economically stronger. It grew stronger in that spirit of generosity, freely chosen acts of generosity, sending other people's children to college. Imagine, to compete with my children? What a crazy idea. No, not here. Not here at all. What they did inspired those parents. And the parents, after 1641, the parents who were cabinet makers and wagon makers and regular people, farmers, they decided they were so grateful, not only family by family for the education that their sons returned to the villages with, but the villages themselves were grateful to have teachers and preachers who would be able to continue bringing forth strength, and businessmen who would be able to continue bringing forth strength in the community and prosperity. And so what did they do? Most of you don't know this, but they actually decided that they would send gifts to the college. And they weren't wealthy people. They had corn and wheat, and they had wagons to take the corn and the wheat to the college, and they had pigs and cattle. And so they called it, colloquially, a corn tax. But the wagon makers put their wagons to be available for the transport of foodstuffs and candles and all the things made in the village to the college. You might say it was the first annual fund, but please don't send pigs or wheat to your own university this year as annual fund and tell them Gaudiani sent you, because I'll get in big trouble. But nonetheless, this was an act of generosity that was inspired by the prosperity they were feeling from the opportunities that had been granted to these young men out of the generosity of the trustees and Lady Molson and the others. Now, what you've just heard is one of the reasons why American capitalism is unique in the world, and why our job right now, even in an economic problem moment, is to recapitalize not just the financial side, but to recapitalize the cultural legacy of America. So now I'm going to be a teacher. Think about a big clock in front of me with 12 right here, and 3 and 6 at the bottom, and 9 and 12. And now think about generosity that creates, think of those families and the trustees. Generosity creates opportunity, right? And opportunity increases the prosperity. And when people see their prosperity growing because of the opportunity created by generosity, when they see that prosperity, what do they feel? At 9, they feel gratitude. And when they feel gratitude, they're inspired to commit generosity. And so the generosity that those villagers shared with the university meant that it didn't have to take its money to buy foodstuffs and candles. It could buy books. And so that engine that is called the virtuous cycle is an engine at the core of American capitalism. It keeps that energy of idealism and optimism and ingenuity and entrepreneurism going, not at somebody's expense, but at the generosity cycle, the engine of prosperity that sits right at our core. And we keep having these acts of generosity that create opportunity and expand prosperity and generate gratitude and spark more generosity. You get my drift. This is the story of America. That's why Europeans don't understand that we are not generous because we're rich. We've gotten to be rich because of our generosity. This didn't happen by mistake, my brothers and sisters. This did not happen by mistake. It was freely chosen by people of virtue who understood a relationship between virtue and generosity toward others and prosperity. They understood the relationship between their well-being and the well-being of others and the well-being of the nation. That's what the city on the hill is all about. And how did these people possibly decide to do this kind of work? Well, they decided freely in a set of different buckets to keep on investing from 1651 on, so that by the time 1776 came around, there had been barn raisings where everybody built everybody's house, where people were educating each other's children, investing in each other's well-being on behalf of the greater good. Self-interest, rightly understood. If I'm interested in myself in the right way, then I include you. And if I include you, you'll include me, and we'll both include everybody. So there's collective prosperity from the opportunities we've all made happen.